Yeah, so basically, Finlandia Invicta is basically going to crash all the time, and I'm pretty sure it's because the developers have updated the mod since I played it. So I'm thinking I need to record in a little bit more of a batch. I was trying to keep the recordings not record all of them at one time because I felt like, then I'm not really able to interact with, the you guys, the viewers, because any comments that you leave are just going to be basically moot because, I'm going to be like all the way done with the campaign. But maybe I need to do like that for a few of the mods because, the mods get updated and then they don't work, which is cool. Anyway, so I wanted to talk about generally, I think, the mistakes I made. So, first off, I think the mistake that I made is that I was using mountain divisions. And this may or may not be a mistake. I think it was definitely that I was using divisions with a 16 combat width. And I think it was also most likely because I was using engineers, recon, and field hospital, but did not put any anti-tank into production. And I think it would have been much more useful to have none of these companies and have one support anti-tank company than all these various companies in production. So, and the reason for that is that, or the reason, rather, I should mention, the reason for thinking maybe going with mountain was maybe not a good decision is because we're taking this much to kind of keep our mountain divisions supplied with weapons. And we barely have enough artillery, and we certainly do not have enough support equipment. So I think taking all this support equipment and shoving it into artillery, or even creating some motorized from it or something like that, would have definitely been a better idea. The other issue I wanted to mention, that's not right, is I did this way too late. I should have gone directly down this as fast as possible. This should have been my literal first priority. And if we add this up, I actually don't know, you can't see how long these take, but I'm assuming that they all take 70, so that's 70, 120, 230, oh no, that's not right, 120, yeah, 210, 280, 350, 420, 490, 560. So I think it would have been the best to go with this immediately as fast as possible, because that would mean that in 1937, almost at the end of 1937, we would have completed all of those focuses. And that would most likely mean that we would be able to actually shoot, my brain is fizzle popping. That would mean that we would actually have been able to most likely have taken these lands. And I don't know if the developers actually fixed the kind of issue of not having cores on this. So I don't know about that. The other thing is, I think it would have been a much better decision to possibly improve the infrastructure. Because I remember when we were invading Norway, I had left the infrastructure up here to be quite low. And I think that was one of my major mistakes because I couldn't really push. The other thing was me not pushing as fast as possible and just destroying the troops over here. Because, I didn't know this at the time, when you puppet a nation, it completely destroys all of its military. Also, I obviously wasn't going to be able to puppet Norway as long as they were in the Allies. So that's a few of the mistakes. Let's see. We should go with research. I think our research might have been okay. We could have probably skipped all this for the most part. I mean, yes, I did definitely need support equipment. You know, engineers would be super useful. Same with recon company. But in terms of our capacity to actually build them, not so useful. So, I think that this was definitely a good idea to go with. I think that air probably was definitely something that I wouldn't be able to actually produce. Let's get out of here and check what the USSR's planes look like. Yeah, I definitely wouldn't have been able to match even half that. And probably wouldn't have been able to match quite a few other things as well. I definitely should have built more military factories, I think. Yeah, I definitely should have built more military factories, and I should have built a lot of them as fast as possible. Just built and built and built and built and built and built. Because, you know, obviously later we're not necessarily going to need our civilian factories as much, and we can also just trade them all away. The other big mistake, I think, was trying to go to war or ending up at war with the Allies. And also, obviously, Germany. What? How the hell did I get this? Well, that's weird. Huh. I got East Aragon. That must be a glitch. The other thing, God, that totally, like, put me off. Oh, was that the Germans completely fizzle-popped. I think if the Germans had not fizzle-popped, I mean, they didn't even take out Czechoslovakia, for fuck's sake. So, and that's Czechoslovakia. Czechoslovakia should have been gone from the beginning of the game. So I think that was another issue, and I also think it was probably an issue that I was trying to directly invade Norway, you know, Sweden, Finland, blah, blah, blah. I think that was another direct issue. I think it would have been made much more sense to possibly invade Sweden earlier, or I could have even gone with a different tree, but invade Sweden earlier and drop off troops over here so that I would, or basically declare war, have them bring all their troops up to the front, and then start a naval invasion to flank them, and then just start going in their country like that. And I think that would have been a much, much, much more sound plan. And I wouldn't even necessarily need Marines for that. Let's see. So, just kind of going to look at these real quick and see if any of these could have necessarily made a difference. No, I'm not entirely sure. I definitely think that I did this way too slow, though. Scandinavian Volunteers, Scandinavian Alliance. This might have been the next best tree to go with. I think this is honestly still the most interesting. Kakonen's Tricks. Paddle against the stream, join the Axis. This could have also done a very powerful tree. However, I definitely think that I went too slow with that. So, basically recommendation for this playthrough, for anyone playing this, I would say go with anything that is going to result in an offensive war as fast as possible, because you cannot be in that war when the USSR decides to come and crack your skull. So you have to make sure that you are finished with that war, hopefully as fast as possible. And I mean, it doesn't really look like we can actually take any real land from anyone. So, yeah, and I don't know if this would actually be better. Anyway, so I'd say that, I would say definitely focus on infantry as much as you can, possibly going with a different doctrine than superior firepower might be a better idea as well. The thing with superior firepower is this, in my opinion, benefits more having a lot of small divisions. So, for instance, if I was fighting as the USSR and I didn't have very much industrial capacity, not enough to build large divisions or 20 width divisions for every single front, and I was fighting on every single front, then I would most likely want to go this side, the integrated support side, because then I could just throw in a artillery and anti-tank, and that would give them a bit more organization, a bit more attack, and overall probably make the division just a little bit more hardy, but it would mean that I would have much, much, much more divisions. Whereas this is much better, I think, for going with 20 width. However, I obviously don't know for sure, so let me know in the comments section if you guys think differently or think the same, etc. So I think that this is a viable tree, and this was probably a pretty good option. I just didn't really know how to play with it. The other option could have definitely been this tree. Let's see how much bonuses we have. Wow. How much is in the army? We have almost 1 million men in our army. Air's crap. So we have plus 6%. Yeah, that's pretty bad, but and then plus an additional 5%. I don't know if that would be worthwhile, because I think you might take a pretty big hit on your infantry. And there's actually a Wikipedia, or not Wikipedia, Hearts of Iron 4 wiki article that gives you comparisons of all your various trees. But I definitely think that I maybe went with the right tree. However, I didn't play it right because I didn't have 20 width divisions and I was not focusing on my artillery. Let's see, what else? I think also maybe even declaring war on Sweden, absolutely, literally just going for a war with Sweden, because once you get Sweden, you're going to have, like over 100 additional steel, which means you are not going to be having to trade for steel. Like, I'm importing how many steel? I'm importing 7 factories worth of steel that I could be using on whatever else. So obviously that's not good. The other thing is, I think once the war with the USSR pops, and if you go obviously fascist and Germany derps out and can't just do anything because they're totally just derpy as derp, then I think that the best option is, like I try to do, of trying to cut them off. However, I definitely think that you're going to possibly need to build an air force to accomplish that. And that doesn't necessarily mean that it's that you are going to be able to build an air force. However, I think that possibly if you declare war, if you have all of the nations under your control, Sweden, Norway, and Denmark, you may have the industrial capacity required to successfully build enough of an air force to maybe get air superiority if you have radar. However, I don't know if that's necessarily going to be viable in terms of research, how much research it's going to take. So, you know, could be a good thing, it could be a bad thing. Let's see. Is there anything else? It may be good to go with mountaineers, I should say. It may be good to go with mountain divisions, as I said before. Another possibility is to not necessarily do a naval invasion on Sweden, but do a air invasion. And pair drop. Do pair drop, I should say. And try to take, maybe Norrland. Yeah, Norrland, or you could even go for Stockholm. I personally would try going for Stockholm. I don't know if that tactic would work or be viable or repeatable, etc. But that could definitely be something that would work. And then it's only a hop, skip, and a jump over to Norway and Oslo. It's also possible that one of the strongest, one of the strongest treaties out of here would be going with just the Scandinavian alliance and getting Norway, Denmark, and Sweden all with you, have all their troops with you, although that may come with an issue of having Germany declare war on Denmark. And then Denmark dragging everybody else into a war and, issues like that. So that could be the most powerful in terms of just getting raw infantry divisions to the front to hold back the Russians. However, it could also spell doom with ending up being at war with Russia and Germany at the same time. Anyway, so I hope you enjoyed the playthrough. I'm sorry it crashed. I didn't even think, I should be recording this way faster, because they'll update the mod and then it won't be playable. Did they add that? I don't remember that being there. I do not remember that being there. That's weird. So, yeah, anyway, thanks for joining me for this series, and I will catch you in the next series, which I believe is going to be Estonia.